real now, Yu-Gi-Oh is never cheap.
YugiNoNo!
King prepare! So let's just start right off with the ABC stuff. Of course, the main deck itself is super cheap because it's a structure deck, which structure decks are fantastic. I love structure decks because every now and then you'll have a deck like Monarchs where you just buy 3 structure decks and then like a few extra cards and you're good to go. But with ABCs, it's a little more complicated than that. Like, let's just start off with Magnet Reverse. This card is worded perfectly for ABCs. It's like Konami's picking cards for us. And I mean, that's not the first time that they've done that, and it won't be the last time that they do that. Like, basically, because of the ABC boss monster Dragon Buster, everybody is playing system down.
Wake up! Wake up! Put a little makeup!
So Magnet Reverse, being able to special summon your banished Dragon Buster is really, really good. But this card is just short of $10, so if you want a playset, you're looking at $30, which is what you spent on the 3 structure decks. And the next card I want to talk about that ABCs play is Anti-Spell Fragrance. In this video, I'm not going to get too much into the discussion of Anti-Spell Fragrance, like whether it should be banned or whether it should stay. I'm actually going to do that in my next video. But I will briefly go over why this card is so good and why it's expensive because it's good. So this card is so good because there's a certain mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh that this card just completely shuts off. Like, if you go first and you open up Anti-Spell Fragrance against, say, a Magispector player, they really can't play Yu-Gi-Oh.
Gonna have a bad time.
And I've actually seen some Magispector players and other Pendulum players, people that are still trying to make, Draco Cows work, they will tech in Trap Eater for Anti-Spell Fragrance. It is that powerful of a card where some players feel the need to play like goofy tech cards just to get around it because it stops them from playing. Like Spell and Trap Destruction that everybody plays, like MST and Twin Twisters, like that will out Anti-Spell Fragrance, but you have to wait a whole turn to do it. And by then, you could have already lost the game depending on your hand. And this card is not only good against Pendulum decks, but it's good against decks like Heroes and Blue Eyes that play a ton of spells and need their spells. It completely slows them down. Anti-Spell Fragrance has been a choice card in anti-meta decks for a long time. It's just now seeing more meta play because of Pendulums. This card can floodgate entire decks, or at the very least, slow them down to your level. So that is why the card is so good and why it's sitting at a minimum of like $25 just to get. And the last card I'm going to mention when it comes to ABCs is Tsukiyomi. This card is hyped up to $23 right now. And next I'm going to briefly go over Heroes because they are still hyped. And they're hyped because of Totally Awesome. And not just because of Totally Awesome, I mean the deck makes mad rank 4s and it can just sit on Dark Law and win in a lot of instances, and everybody hates Dark Law.
Please tell me why you always leave.
Like, if you look at the meta right now, I mean every deck basically has to use the graveyard. I'm talking ABCs, PK Fire, and even Pendulums need the graveyard. Having that Macrocosmos, that walking Macrocosmos up is not good. So yeah, Ulti and Secret Bubble Men are still sitting from like the $20 to $30 range, and Ulti copies of a Hero Lives are running at about the same price. And speaking of hyped prices, Dark Lord Serrano is really expensive for the secret rare. Like, the Phantom Darkness secret rares are $25, but the commons are like 50 cents, and you probably already have them sitting in your commons. If you're like me and you have like a ton of commons, I bet you if you look through them, you'd find a shit ton of these guys. But that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh is. I'm the same way. I like to play shiny cards.
I love gold.
And the Zerato hype is because of the new Dark Lord cards, like the Dark Lord support cards that are going to be coming out. I like seeing darker art in Yu-Gi-Oh because Konami hasn't made the best choices when it comes to art and card names lately. So now, moving on to more staple stuff, Solemn Strikes are $30. This card needs to get reprinted again, apparently, because that is way too much to be paying for like a card that basically everyone needs to play. Kind of like another card out there. A playset of Pot of Desires is still gonna run you almost $300. And for a card that everyone should really be having access to, I think that's a little ridiculous. When Yu-Gi-Oh started and Pot of Greed was staple, it was a common in a structure deck. And now we reach the point to where a draw card will cost you an arm and a leg. And speaking of costing an arm and a leg, let's move on to Left Arm Offering. Left Arm Offering is staple in Infernoids right now, and it's really high priced because Infernoids recently topped, and in the OCG, they're just like tearing things up right now. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Be expecting more content from me. I'm gonna start uploading every single day, and starting on Monday, I'm gonna start streaming every single day, Monday through Friday. So if you haven't checked out my Twitch, go ahead and do that, and as always, if you like this video, then dick slap that like button and subscribe.
Subscribe!